Well, good afternoon, Connected Empowerment. This is Tony Hightower. We are back again, and today we have a very special treat for you. So one of my coworkers, Eric Faulkner, totally awesome. He works in the Veterans Experience Office, does a lot for our veterans, is a Navy veteran himself. Don't hate him, Army people. It's okay on this day of the Army's birthday. He is a great, great guy who does a lot for our veterans. Also an up-and-coming designer, human-centered designer, learning all about that. And so today, Eric is going to talk to us about domestic violence, growing up with that, which I definitely connect with. So thank you for being a big person and just stepping forward to share it, because I know this is a super hard story, Eric. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to get started, and then just tell us how it was growing up in that environment. We'll go from there.
Okay, great, great. Well, Tony, thanks for having me. This is amazing. I wouldn't have missed it. So, first of all, I am Eric Faulkner, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. Joined the military in July of 1987. Did 27 years in the United States Navy. And came up through the ranks from E1 all the way to E9. So, made E9 in like 18 and a half, 19 years, and stuck around and did executive leadership for a while. So married my wonderful wife in Yokosuka, Japan, and we have two kids, well, young adults, I call them now because they're out of my house. That would be Stephen, Stephen May, and he's in Las Vegas. Did 7 years in the Navy, got out going to school, and my daughter Jasmine, she's in Atlanta, Georgia, and she graduated for her marketing and business degree, so she's living there. So we currently reside in California, Temecula, California, right outside of San Diego in Riverside County. And we've been here for a while. So I am a brother of two sisters and one brother. And my mom is, gone home to see the Lord because she passed from cancer a couple years ago. Really tough and still hard to deal with even today. But hey, we keep pushing on and we keep pressing. So
That's right.
I have my master's degree in healthcare administration, a bachelor's in health sciences. I just finished my diversity, inclusion, and equity certification. And I am a commissioner on the Temecula City Commission, the Race Equity Diversity Inclusion Commission. So, in addition to that, I also mentor a young man, and I just got approved to mentor another one through the Big Brothers and Big Sisters campaign. So I've been staying very busy, not only at work, but on my off time too. And I currently work with the VA as a management analyst with the Veterans Experience Office, Veterans Family Caregivers Engagement Directorate, where we work on community engagement and building relationships with our veterans, trying to continue to improve upon their experience with healthcare, cemetery, and national and benefits administration. So making sure they have a great experience with those three administrations, and supporting some of the community groups that we support as well. So, and a lot of things on the backstage that we do to, again, make VA the place of choice for our veterans. So that's a little bit quick snapshot of me, Tony, just to share who I
Yeah.
am, where I come from, and where I am right now. So,
Well, it is clear that you have a servant heart in everything that you do, and that's amazing, given your story. And I think there's always two ways as we kick this off for someone who's come through child abuse and domestic violence, as you have, as I have, that you can either take that and make it let you be bitter and perpetuate the cycle, or you can learn from it, grow from it, and become that servant that you were meant to be. So thank you for sharing that, Eric. Why don't you take us through like how it was growing up, and just some of those key points that really defined you and defined your childhood.
okay, thanks for that question. Thanks for asking, Tony. So let's start off with first of all, I'm a fatherless young man. I'm a fatherless man, which means that I did not have the traditional father who really was accepting, helping mentor me, guide me, and help me grow into a young boy, into a young man, and understanding what that is. So starting off there. So it was tough for me to really get grasped around that why someone did not want to be my father, right? So
Mhm.
it was a really hard thing to try to overcome, and what that meant to me, and how I would step out and understand what it really meant to be a man. So there were some challenges there, even from that set me down a path of just introversion, not really, having a huge circle, and really, just navigating things in my own lane in regards to how I looked at them. So my mother married um, a guy who was he was an Army Vietnam vet. So married him, but did not know the baggage that came with him, right?
Yeah.
So we were looked to when we were small when they got married. Uh, there was something about it that just wasn't right. Even as a little age, I still remember running to my mom saying, "This is not the one." I remember just running her like crying, just crying. That I'm like, even as a little kid, I just knew something wasn't right. So relationship happens, they get married, you know, and right off the bat, I remember, I can recall the abuse starting to happen. All right. So you got a Vietnam vet probably dealing with a lot of things from that, really didn't get the care he needed to get. Plus, he was coming from an abusive home himself. So the perpetual cycle, right? So
Mhm.
he gets married to my mom, and then the abuse starts to happen. We start seeing the verbal, the B's and the H's and all the other things that that were coming out of his mouth in regards to what he thought about my mom. So growing up in that, and then the verbal started becoming the physical. All right. So test the waters with the verbal. If they accept that, next step, lay hands on it. So and then it became that, and really me and my sisters walking through that, and trying to figure out what can we do about it, and why is mom staying in this situation? Why don't we get out of this? Why doesn't she separate herself from this? And and us trying to really put things together, and why we have to stay in this environment,
Yeah.
and the impact it had on us, and me feeling like whew,
Yeah. I feel you, brother. It's okay. Take your time. This is hard stuff. Yeah. Well, Eric is just taking a minute. You can see the emotion and mine too. I think we went through a lot of the same things together, and it's people say, well, you were a child and that happened, and why can't you just move past it? Why do you keep that? But those moments defined who we are and made us better in a lot of ways, but caused a lot of injury in others that are continue to have to try to get past. So Eric, thank you for
thanks, Tony. I appreciate
thank you.
that. But just as a young man, just trying to figure out, man, why can't I do something to get her out of this situation? What do I need to do to get her out of this situation? And understanding I wasn't at the size that I needed to be to really protect her, but working to try to get in between her when those blows came, and
Mm.
and trying to just stand there and show force that you know I'm not going to continue to allow that to happen. And and over the years, we just felt like you feel like you're held hostage, right? You feel like you
Mhm.
can't do anything, even though you have numbers, my brothers and my sisters and everything. But it was a situation where, what do we do if mom is not going to do anything? What can we do to try to engage in this? And over the years, it was that same mentality, and when we got older, it just became the verbal, right? So they saw us getting bigger and knew that we weren't going to take that anymore. We're going to actually start acting and making sure that you're not going to continue to physically abuse my mom. So it became just the verbal and the alcohol. Again, I didn't talk about he was an alcoholic, and that led into some of that as well. So you have a guy coming from abuse, going into the military, not getting help, and
Mhm.
out of that, masking his symptoms in alcohol, self-treating through alcohol. So and then and taking it and using that to take that out on everybody else in the house, right? So there were times when I would be you know emptying the trash, and you empty trash wrong, and then I get a whooping, or get
Mhm.
abused because of that. It wasn't anything that truly there was three strikes and you're out. It was did one thing, and then you were getting whooped over something. So uh, not to say I was a little mischievous as a kid, so I would get in a little trouble, which I which I
I'm not
knew
shocked.
I know exactly, which I know I was going to pay for. But sometimes it wasn't even about that. It was about just showing forth, showing that I'm
Mhm.
I'm the guy in the house, and you'll do what I say, and if you don't, these are the repercussions. Uh, so it got to a point where in my house. the larger bedroom, my master bedroom was in the back of the house. It was me and my brother's room, and my sister's room were up in the front of the house. So what I would hear every night is him going at her, and and so I developed insomnia because I felt like I had to stay up all night long just in case something went off, that I had to get out of my bed and go protect my mom. So I
Yeah.
dealt with years of insomnia, thinking that I had to be up just in case something kicks off, and I got to go and respond and get in there and help out. So I struggled. Based on that, I struggled in school. My grades weren't good because I would go to school tired and exhausted because I was up all night worried about my mom and what I needed to do to protect her if something popped off, and he said something, he did something.
Yeah.
So over those years, and then and I continued that, and and some going into the military as well. I just didn't find that alertness constantly in a situation in my house, and now the situation of being in the military, right? So I felt like I always had to be up. I had to be ready to protect her if something went down like that.
Hmm.
So, so over the years we were going. As we got older, the physical stopped because he knew we were going to come at him. He knew we were going to respond differently because now I'm at an age, at
Or
a
you
size
can.
where I can respond, and you're going to have to pay for it if you do. But the verbal was still just as potent, and it's still like mom, like stand in this situation. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. So in the South and in Southern women back in those times, they just stuck. They didn't feel like there was an out. I think my mom had a feeling of, I only make so much. I have 4 kids. I don't want to go into a shelter where
Right.
it could be even more danger from people that I don't know to be around. So I stay in this situation and I take the abuse so my kids can have a roof over their head, food on the table, even though it was a tough environment, a tough
Right.
climate. So she stayed the course. Uh, so that goes on for a while, that cycle. I get to a point where, I'm getting ready to join the military, uh, and it happened again. It was a verbal. And at that point in time, I just, all that holding everything in, not really talking to anybody and getting it out because I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I internalized all this stuff for years.
Oh yeah.
And then it came to a head when he started talking. I grabbed him that day. I had signed up for the Navy, getting ready to go in, but he did it right before that time. I grabbed him by his neck, put him on the wall, and I had a plan to take him out. And then all of a sudden, the voices came in my head. I started getting this rush of, if you do this, you will not be able to live up to your potential, and you will not be able to live out the expectations your mother had on you, because now you're going to be incarcerated for doing something.
Right.
So I started to think about her strength and what she went through. Do I do this and take her son out of the game, and allow her to be depressed and feeling bad because I'm locked up versus out there moving out based on all the things she did for me. So I put him down and I looked at my mom. I said, "You have got to get out of this situation. You can't stand this anymore." And and I looked at him. And I said, "If you ever call my mother anything, that's the last time you will do that." But I didn't know. My mother seemed to have a plan, right?
Right.
She dealt with it because I didn't know it until after my youngest brother graduated. Immediately after he graduated, she left the situation.
Good.
So it led me to know that she wanted to get all her kids out of the house and was willing to take on this just to get them out of the house on their own. And once her goals were fulfilled for all four, she said, "Now I can separate myself from this, and now I
Right.
have peace of mind, move out and what I wanted to do with my life, based on the fact that I kept them. It wasn't the safest environment for her, and although we were whooped and things like that, it wasn't a punch or anything like that. It was just unnecessary punishment. It was, to her, it was still a safe environment. So she took it on so we could move on, right? So
Yep.
and and every time, and then she since passed from cancer, and I can tell you, she's a woman of faith, and She prayed for us, but she also, she came back. And it was crazy for me to see this was the fact that he had cancer and my mother had cancer. Guess who was taking care of him as he was getting ready to pass? She goes back and takes care of him through all after all he did, all that stuff he did. She went back and showed the compassion and love to him, even on his deathbed. She was over there like, "What can I do? What do I need?" But in all of this, they never divorced, right? They separated, so they were separated for a long period of time. Uh,
Right.
and she goes back to take care of him. She's looking out for him along with his son, which is my brother. And I'm like, Mom, I'm like, this is crazy. You got to explain to me this. Through all that stuff that he did to you, why are you engaging with him? Why are you talking to him? Why are you, uh, man, having to be the bigger person in all this and really show that compassion, love that he should have been showing you back at the time he was abusing you and really abusing us and holding the household hostage uh, through the power and what he had been doing. She looked at me and she said, it's too heavy of a burden to carry. It's too heavy of a pack to carry for the rest of my life.
Right.
I have to let it go. I have to let it go. Either I let it go or it holds me where I am. I mean, for me to move forward, I have got to past this. I cannot go back and change what happened in the past. But what I can do is chart a path forward from this point. And when she told me that, because I had been burdened, every time I would go home and see a scar on her and look at her scar on her head or her arm where I know where it came from, I would get so angry and pent up in my emotions that I just wanted to just go and just have at them. But when she told me that, and she said, it's too heavy a burden to carry, that's when I had to hear it from her. That's when I let it go.
Nice.
That's when I let it go. Because guess what? The impact it had on my relationship with my wife, I did not know it did. The impact it had on my kids in regards to I was at a point because no one showed me how to be intimate. I was running through relationships before I met my wife because I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the love and how to show somebody that because I had to learn that over time
Right.
because it was never instilled in me, taught to me by me, a father. So so it took a while. I started seeing it growing. I mean, I'm sitting on the one end of the couch, my wife's sitting on the other end of the couch, and I'm not really pulling her in and showing love. You know, we're going in and out of the car, and I'm like, go ahead and get in the car. I'm going around on my side versus let me open the door for you.
Right.
I had to really, and I had to get on that one time, and it didn't hit me the impact this thing had on me. One day, my wife, both of us are working. I'm serving in the military, and she's working a job. She's commuting. I'm on base CMC. We're standing base out,
Oh yeah.
and she comes home every day. I'm sitting on the couch with the remote control. I haven't cooked anything, cleaned anything. It went through a cycle of that because his thing was, oh, the ladies do all that. I ended up adopting that stupid mentality. And I started putting it on my wife and our relationship. And one day she went up to the room and she was crying, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm out of here.
Right.
And I had to really internalize and look at myself. I'm turning into what I didn't want to be. I wasn't verbally abusive, but the lack of my action in regards to our relationship was showing kind of that, right?
Right. Yep.
So I had to hit myself and say, what am I doing? And I straightened myself. I said, baby, this is 50. We're going 50-50. I don't mind cleaning, cooking, and whatever is needed for us to be on the same sheet of music. And the same thing with my kids, loving them the way they should be loved. I struggled with that initial because of all of that. And I had to let that go. So that is the impact it had on me because my mother was such a strong lady. I mean, she was the matriarch of the family. Although she was going through all that, nobody really saw it other than us in the house. She was embarrassed by it. We didn't have conversations about it because we didn't want nobody to know she was going through that. And we thought she was having conversations with her brothers and sisters, and she wasn't even sharing it. You know,
Wow.
she wasn't even sharing it. So we're sitting here, and I'm like,
man, that's strength that I don't know if I could have had going through being on that side and going through that. I don't think I could have. I don't think I could have just measured up what she did. She was keeping our entire family together. She was the reason setting up events. Once it stayed tight as a family, she was going through this. She was raising 4 kids, trying to keep them together, and she's working. I mean, every day. Uh, so so that was my experience directly with this domestic violence, and I have such a draw to it to make sure others don't go down that path, and particularly anybody. And it doesn't make any, and domestic violence could be anyone. It could be a woman or man, man or woman. It doesn't matter, man or whatever. Is to make sure they understand that you do not have to deal with that. There's a lot of resources out here to help you, and to move out uh, into a safe space to where you can really keep your mental health intact while being able to take care of you. And if there's kids involved, man, that's the other piece of this. Yes, mostly you're going through it, but man, the kids when they're going through it. So a lot of times the one going through it who's getting the physical abuse thinking, well, I can take this and it's only
Yeah.
going to impact me.
Right.
The kids are watching it. It's impacting them as well.
So much.
Even if the person's not abusive towards the kids, they're seeing it. It's been implanted in here over and over again. What is that young man to think if it's the man beating up on the wife, or the husband beating up, or the wife beating up on the husband, whatever it
Yeah.
is, the impact on those kids is huge. And to deconflict that in regards to how things should be. So I mean, so I wanted to share the experience, and hopefully it's something that will resonate with people. Uh, and that the main thing is you don't have to stay there. You don't have to park there, right? You can make things better to make sure that those you come in contact with, such as my wife and my kids, have a better experience based on what I've learned from seeing that happen or going through it, right?
Yeah.
So a thing for you, if once you go through, is ensure that nobody else has to go through it. To ensure that you share. The other thing is ensure that you share it with your kids. I mean, we do a poor job of really sharing our experiences, how we came up and grew up with our kids. Our kids think we're perfect because they only see us now and the house and what we have. But when you go back and show them your neighborhood you grew up, or you go out and show the house you grew up in, and you share the stories about, no, this is what really happened when I grew up. Because you don't want history to repeat itself if you don't identify and educate on the history. So you want to make sure you share that to make sure that they understand. No, you don't have to live like that. That is not love. Someone hitting on you is not love. I don't care how many times they say it. So once you see the signs of abuse, and it normally starts with verbal, right? They step in
Yeah,
verbal,
sure does.
see if that's acceptable, and then they escalate. They take it to the next level. They take it to the next level until it's full on. You're in the hospital, you know, with black eyes. So know those levels at the bottom when they start being abusive, and you think you're going to change them, no matter what the relationship is. It's once you see the signs, you got to do an immediate halt and have conversations and say, we need to, if this is going to happen, we need to go to counseling, or you really need to show me that this is not what it's about. So,
That's a great point, Eric. And I tell you, I grew up in a very similar household, although it was my father, my biological father. And I mean, he was just evil. The same thing. Beer almost makes me nauseous just because I knew what happened when that smell came in the house.
yep.
And it does, it escalates, right? It starts with a verbal, and then pretty soon it's more than verbal. I mean, ours got to where there was a gun involved, and I'm, like you, want to be that protector and stepped in the middle of it. But it got so bad, so terrible. And I did ask my mom, why did you stay? And she said, because if biological father, Iowa, of course, joint custody. So now I can't save you when he gets to take you, when there's custody and he takes you alone. And there was a lot of truth in that. Although she did leave and get out, there was that piece that we had to still continue to go through. Is I still have to go with you because the court mandates it, even though all this abuse has happened, the court's still going to make me be with this abusive man, without my mother to protect me. And so there's always a lot of reasons, I think, why women stay. And it's very hard to say get out of there, but the strength that they show to take care of their children is something that I will never understand. My mom working 3 jobs and, you know, taking that abuse and still showing us the love and compassion. And like your mom, my mom was very religious and just exuded kindness to everyone, still took this man's calls because she said, it's not, I have to be kind because it's the right thing to do. I don't have to be ugly, and he's going to pay for what he did. That's not on me. I'm
Right.
going to always be kind. And she was, and it was such an inspiration. And if I took anything out of it, is like, be like that and learn from the other two, because you always take those lessons that are hard. That's probably why I never had biological children, because I didn't know if I had that in me and I didn't want to find out.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to continue that cycle. And I thought that's the easiest way not to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that kind of person. So, and I love children, but you know, I mean, you're right. Like the way you love is very different, and you have to trust, and it's just hard. And God bless the women that are married to us, because I'm sure they have a lot of patience for our
Yeah.
craziness. But you know, Eric, it's amazing when I know who you are, and I get to work with you every day, and I see your kind servant heart, and I know how much you try to help everybody else, and you try to undo that karma that was laid upon you, and still be somewhat understanding, and help those other veterans who have PTSD, and that do the alcohol, that do the drugs. And we know, from both of us know from being in combat, what a heavy rucksack that is, and what demons come with that. And we don't always win those battles. In fact, we have a lot of brothers and sisters who have taken their own life because they just can't win it.
Right.
But the ones that struggle, you know, we're trying to help, and there's a lot out there struggling. Please, if you fall in those roles, if you're a veteran, we're both veterans that fall under those roles of PTSD, please, we both work for the VA, we beg you, come and get the help you need. Don't self-medicate, don't go down those violent roles, just come get help. We won't judge, because we all carry so many demons and so many baggage, and it just gets heavy sometimes. But we're here for each other, and you are just such a great servant leader. And you took something that was very, very bad that happened to you, and rather being bitter, you turned it into just something good. That light just comes off of you, Eric, and you're an amazing man. And thank you for coming forward and sharing something that was very hard. And I know how hard it was for you. So thank you. I hope that people that are listening get the inspiration to take something that's really, really bad. And, you know, for me, I look at that abuse as a gift,
Yeah.
because it reminds me of who I don't want to be, and
Yeah.
how I can try to be better.
Yeah.
Even that was a gift. And so, you know, God always has a plan, right? I really believe that. And
Yeah.
I just try to remember. And I'm just so blessed that I had the angel who is my mother, the strongest person, the most inspirational, kind person. I will never be an eighth of the woman that she was, but I will always try.
I
And
know,
it sounds like you felt the same. So
I know that's right.
Yeah.
You're right on time, Tony.
well, you're nailing it, brother. You're nailing it. Your kindness and compassion, and just, you know, I know that you're a great father and husband and coworker, and you're always here for us. So I want to thank you so much. And you know, to those of you watching Connected Empowerment, that's just the story of the day. You don't know what somebody is carrying with them. You know that Eric's a big, strong guy, and he doesn't share this often, so you would not guess that. I'm a little more open with mine, because I think people need to understand and know it. But you know, you take what's given to you, and you can either be bitter about it, or you can be better for it. Just be better for it. Try. It's very hard. I know I say that because some days I am bitter, as I know you can be as well. But you just try every day. Try to be good. Try to put the kindness out there. Try to just make that light in the world, and you do that. So thank you, Eric, for not only for doing this and having that strength to come and do it, but thank you for what you do for our veterans. Thank you for what you do for them young men growing up that don't know a father, because you also had that taken away from you, and instead of, again, being bitter about it, you're doing something about it. So thank you for being so inspirational. Thank you for worrying about diversity and inclusion, because that's so important right now in today's world. So I thank you for being so inspirational. I'm going to try to be better now after this, because now I've talked to you. I'm going to go get my diversity inclusion. I was wondering what was next. Now I know. I'm going to try to be more like Eric. So thank you, my friend, for being so awesome. And I just I just appreciate you so much. Connected Empowerment. We'll see Eric again next week. He's going to talk to us about Black Lives Matter, completely different story, but he has a lot of experiences there as well. So you will see him again. He's a repeat offender, as we say, but he didn't go to jail, so that's good there. Hoorah, Master Chief. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks,
We
Bob.
will see you next time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.